This is CNN Breaking News.
Welcome to The Lead. I'm Jim Sciutto, in today for Jake Tapper, and some breaking news. Startling remarks coming in just a few minutes ago. Senator John McCain blaming President Obama directly, saying the current commander-in-chief is, quote, directly responsible for the terrorist massacre that happened Sunday here in Orlando, just down the street from me here. CNN senior political reporter Manu Raju, he is on Capitol Hill. He was with Senator McCain as he made this comment. So, Manu, Senator McCain apparently made these remarks in a hallway to just a few reporters. He is now tweeting, seeming to clarify, perhaps qualify what he said. What exactly did McCain say?
Yeah, that's right, Jim. Clearly, John McCain has realized that he may have gone a little bit too far in his comments to reporters just a little while ago. Now, I'll read to you exactly what he said. He was being approached, asked about this gun control debate, asked about the Orlando shooting, and he made some very, very strong comments. He was asked if Obama was directly responsible for the shooting in Orlando. And what he said was that Barack Obama is directly responsible for it because when he pulled everybody out of Iraq, Al-Qaeda went to Syria, became ISIS, and ISIS is what it is today thanks to Barack Obama's failures, utter failures, he said, by pulling everybody out of Iraq, thinking that conflicts end because just when you leave. So the responsibility for it, he said, lies with President Obama and his, quote, failed policies. Now, when he was asked a follow-up question by other reporters, he didn't back down. He said, because Obama pulled everybody out of Iraq, and I predicted at the time that ISIS would go unchecked and there would be attacks on the United States of America. It's a matter of record, he said. He said, so he is directly responsible. Now, John McCain later put out a tweet, as you mentioned, said, well, he didn't mean the president. I meant his national security decisions. And he later put out a much more expansive statement. I'll read you just part of his statement here. He said that I misspoke. That was the first thing he said. He said, I do not mean to imply that the president was personally responsible. He said, I was referring to the president's national security decisions, not the president himself. Again, reiterating his opposition to the president's Iraq policies and how he's withdrawn troops from Iraq, something that he said had led to a disaster in the region. So clearly John McCain trying to clean it up. And one other thing to note, McCain is in the middle of a very difficult re-election race back home. He's got a primary in August. He should be okay there, but a very difficult general election. And Democrats already are trying to use this against him, Jim.
Manu Raju on the Hill, thanks very much. Joining me now is the ranking Democratic Congressman Adam Schiff, ranking member of the House Intelligence Committee. Congressman Schiff, thanks so much for joining us today. You heard Senator McCain's initial statement blaming the president, in effect, and you've since heard something of a qualification from him, clarification. Let me ask you directly, what's your response?
Well, I was very disappointed to hear the statement. I have a lot of respect for John McCain. He's an American war hero. But frankly, that statement sounded a lot more like Donald Trump than John McCain. And I wish he would just retract it in its entirety. I don't think it adds anything to the national debate. And I think it was a grievous mistake.
I have to ask you, Congressman Schiff, because that initial statement, as you saw, I mean, it sparked an immediate storm. I saw it exploding on Twitter. Very quickly, he issued this clarification both on Twitter, but also in a more formal statement. It seemed that he was attempting to distinguish himself from Donald Trump's position, directly blaming the president. Did you hear the same thing? Did you interpret the same thing?
Well, when I heard the initial statement, it certainly sounded an awful lot like what Donald Trump has been saying. And it may be an illustration of just how much Donald Trump is coloring the national debate in a very unhealthy and counterproductive way. And this is part of the danger of Donald Trump, that it lowers the bar in the country, it lowers the level of civil discourse, and in fact espouses a lot of views that are antithetical to our national security interests. So I do think it's part of the Trump effect in kind of just making this a much more coarse and vicious political debate, and it really has to stop.
Let me ask you this, though, Congressman Schiff. Let's separate direct responsibility, as he initially claimed, for the Orlando shooting. There is a more substantive criticism here from Senator McCain, you've heard it from others, that the Obama administration allowed an opening for the Islamic State by pulling those troops out of Iraq, by not securing a deal with the Iraqi government to keep at least some troops which some on both sides of the aisle, frankly, have said contributed to ISIS's ability to take over large parts of Iraq. Is there not a substantive criticism there that the administration at least shares responsibility for allowing that opening to ISIS in Iraq?
Well, you can certainly make the argument that the administration didn't succeed in negotiating a status of forces agreement. But the fact is the Iraqis didn't want us there, and President Bush had similar trouble in reaching out and reaching any agreement with the Iraqis. But to somehow then say that the president is personally responsible, and right in the wake of a national tragedy like this, I just don't think there's a link to be made, and I think it really is really a gross disservice to the president and to the cause of what do we need to do to prevent gun tragedies like this from happening and terrorist attacks like this from happening in the United States.
Let's talk about the effort. You saw your colleague, Senator Murphy, on the Senate side, giving this filibuster to try to at least get a vote on some measures to respond to this attack, some gun control measures. Do you see a change in the political environment on the Hill today following this attack? Because we've seen this many times before. Horrific attack, talk of some measures to respond, a week or two or days later, that feeling disappears. Is there something different about this one that will drive actual action on the Hill?
Jim, you're absolutely right. If you were a betting man, you'd always bet against Congress, and particularly when it comes to the gun issue. But it does feel like something has changed now. Maybe this is the tipping point. I would have thought that the country needed nothing more, the Congress needed nothing more than that Sandy Hook tragedy. But even that did not result in any action. That was really part of the powerful motivation for Chris Murphy to take to the Senate floor in that filibuster. But this really does feel like something has changed, that something here in the Congress, something in the national consciousness has just snapped with this latest tragedy. People are demanding a response, and I think Congress members need to beware if they stand in the way of common sense gun reform, that we may be entering a new chapter where voters really do hold them accountable.
Congressman Schiff, we know you're right in the middle of this, getting regular briefings on the investigation to Orlando. Thanks very much for taking the time today.
Thank you, Jim.